Hi, I'm Mike Papantonio, and this is America's Lawyer. Republican lawmakers in Florida are in a full panic about Ron DeSantis' recent anti-immigration law, and now they're begging immigrants to please stay in Florida. Leaders in the technology industry have signed a joint letter warning that the rapid development of artificial intelligence could lead to our extinction, and it's signed by a lot of impressive people. And former Vice President Mike Pence, well, he's officially running for president, but there may not be a part of the Republican base that's excited about it at all. All that and more, it's all coming up. Don't go anywhere. America's Lawyer starts right now. Republican lawmakers in Florida held an emergency meeting this week where they begged immigrants to please stay in Florida. The state's about to experience massive economic pain thanks to Ron DeSantis, the guy who's running for president. His recent bill targets migrant workers in Florida, and it's really bad for Florida, possibly the entire Southeast. Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins joins me to talk about it. Farron, this story is nauseating. If there's somebody that's followed this from beginning to know what these creeps have done behind closed doors, pick it up.
Yeah, what we saw this week was down in Hialeah, Florida. You had 3 Republican lawmakers, and we got to name them, State Representative Lena Garcia, Rick Roth, and Juan Barkeen, held this meeting in South Florida behind closed doors. They've got their business leaders who are freaked out about the thought of losing all their migrant labor. So these lawmakers get up on stage, and it's all on video, and they tell them, listen, there's no teeth in this bill. It's all for politics. It's all for show.
Right.
So what you have to do is you got to tell your migrant workers don't leave. Tell your migrant workers to tell their migrant friends don't leave the state, because we're all panicked about it. And this is all on video. Thomas Kennedy, reporter from South Florida, caught it all.
So do you think this guy who's running for president didn't know that? Didn't know that this was a show? And then all of a sudden the construction industry is calling Tallahassee, say, what the hell? What have you done? This is our workforce. We can't build houses without them. We can't put roofs on houses without them. The citrus industry saying, who in the world do you think is going to pick the oranges now? They're calling him. They're calling Republican representatives and say, have you gone frigging crazy? Because what's happening is they understand this. The entire GDP of Florida is going to be in the tank. So now we learn they knew that all along. This was a scare tactic. This was all about the culture wars. We want to out-culture war Trump. We want to look so far to the right that we look like crazy people. Well, he's done it. He looks like a crazy man, and the idiots in Tallahassee look even crazier, don't they?
They really do, and I'm glad you used that phrase, scare tactic, because that is what those lawmakers down in South Florida said. They said this law is just a scare tactic. The goal is to keep people, migrants, from coming into Florida. We don't want to lose the ones we've got. It's one of those, you're the good ones. We don't want the other ones coming in.
We don't want the bad ones. It's all about mobility. This is what they miss totally. Well, I don't think they missed it. I think they had closed door meetings. I promise you. They had closed door meetings in Tallahassee, and you had a bunch of cigar smoking punks talking about the idea, this is perfect. We're going to scare the hell out of everybody. We're out of immigrants. We're going to look like we're right of Attila the Hun. We're going to look like we're winning the culture war. And all of a sudden, this meeting takes place down in Hialeah County, and they say, look, it was just a show. The crazy man here was just putting on a show. The guy running for president was just putting on a show. Well, if he's going to put a show like that on in Florida, think of what he's going to do in Washington, D.C. Think about that. And if he says, well, I didn't have any control over the legislators, nonsense, right?
Oh, exactly. This bill came from Ron DeSantis. They know, everybody in that legislature knows that this is what he wanted. He wouldn't have signed it. He wouldn't have pushed it. He wouldn't be bragging about it out there on the campaign trail. And every one of them, you're right, knows how devastating this is. What I don't think they expected was the massive backlash from their donors, because those are the people who were going to first immediately get hurt.
The donors are going crazy. This guy has gotten all of his money from the Chamber of Commerce types. The Chamber of Commerce types are writing, we need more immigrants.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their big, we need more immigrants. So this guy, with other little creatures in Tallahassee, says, well, look, we're going to take advantage of this. We're going to look like we're anti-immigration, and people are going to love us for it. Next day, all the donors start calling him, have you lost your frigging mind, right? Now this is admitted. I mean, they're admitting it in this meeting, right? One more time, tell the viewers what was said in this meeting.
Yeah, again, I'm going to give full credit, obviously, Thomas Kennedy, who captured
great work here.
These three lawmakers are sitting there telling these people, don't panic. It's all for show. This is just politics. There's a political agenda behind it. It's not meant to really be enforced. They said there's no teeth in it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's worked because they're leaving already, buddy.
They are.
They're going to Alabama, they're going to Mississippi, they're going to Georgia, and this guy's going to have to explain to Florida consumers, and the cats in Tallahassee are going to have to explain to the consumers why we've increased the cost of building a house by 20%, why now orange juice costs us $10 a bottle. They're going to have some explaining to do. And he thinks this is going to help him. It's just the opposite. My prediction is this might be a deal killer for this guy. Once people understand this is the guy who wants to do the same kind of thing running the entire country.
Our U.S. economy would be crippled if we did what DeSantis has done to Florida to the rest of the United States. When he says, let's make America Florida, that's not a promise, that's a threat. It is an absolute threat that he wants to do that.
It should scare the bejesus out of everybody. Well, you know, it's life in the political lane. But you know what? It did so much harm to Florida that it's already harmed our economy, and it's only going to get worse.
Well, that's the thing. It's harmed us so much already, and it technically hasn't gone into effect yet.
Right.
But what we've seen, there's reports you've got migrants in Florida, immigrants, even legal immigrants, who are now afraid to leave their homes. Restaurants are losing business because people aren't going in because I don't want people to assume I'm an illegal immigrant and then I get arrested.
Right.
It is having a chilling effect.
We're going to talk
in
about
every
that
industry.
next segment. Well, Ron DeSantis has done it, hasn't he? He's used political scare tactics to try to get a few votes. Now what we see, Trump is even moving further ahead. Trump is killing him even in the state of Florida because he thought that this big immigration show that these cats in Tallahassee were putting on was really going to help him. Just the opposite, right?
Yeah, this is one of the most devastating moves to the Florida economy that Ron DeSantis could have done. I mean, we're talking about 8% of our workforce overall by putting this law in place. You know, you can't hire any migrant workers. It's going to be a $10,000 fine per worker that you hire. And business leaders are sounding the alarm. But more importantly, we are seeing videos emerge constantly of construction sites, entire neighborhoods being built.
Closed down.
It's a ghost town.
Yeah.
Truckers threatening boycotts in the state.
Well, now, you know, we're going to get comments, oh, that's nonsense, you're making that up. No, I have driven by sites that are dead in the water. Yeah. People don't have, you're going to have immigrants that look, what is it about the immigrant worker that's so valuable to the entire GDP of the state? Okay, first of all is mobility, right? When crops have to be handled in Central Florida, they're able to move to Central Florida and help us with that. When crops have to be handled in South Florida, they're able to move to South Florida and handle that. And all these cats are saying, well, they're taking my job. Nonsense. If they were taking anybody's job, those sites wouldn't be closed down. Right. If they were taking anybody's job, there'd be everybody out there picking strawberries and picking oranges. So the mobility factor alone, because of what Ron DeSantis has done, is going to, this is the projection, the GDP is going to drop by $13 billion. That's what they did in Tallahassee as they were playing games, as they were involved with scare tactics. So the mobility factor is important, but also the demographic factor. I think what it is, for every 65-year-old and older, there are only 3 bodies that are going to replace them in the workforce. So the idea of demographics becomes important because we have to have somebody moving into the state to replace and make those demographics solid to where we can have workers that are increasing our GDP, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what people don't understand, there's great numbers here. Yeah, like I said, the migrants make up about 8% of our total workforce. But when you break it down by industry, it gets a lot worse. We're talking about 37% of our agricultural workers, 23% of our construction workers, 14% of our service workers in the state. And the service industry is one of the biggest industries here. But so they make up a disproportionate amount of the 3 industries that keep this state running. And DeSantis is telling businesses, I'm going to make you pay me $10,000 for every one of these people you hire.
Let's talk about what's happened here. People don't understand the ramifications of this. Let's start with the very basics. First of all, the genius says we're going to put $12 million over to this special group. And the special group is going to make sure that this thing that we just passed is going to have teeth to it. So here's what you've got. You've got 1.8 million immigrants documented and undocumented working in Florida. This is designed to put fear in their heart, to put desperation in their heart, to the desperation to the point to where they can't even go to a hospital under this bill. If they go to a hospital and try to get care for their children, they have to be reported to the government. And so it's not just fear, it's desperation. Anytime you trap anybody with fear and desperation, they ain't going to stick around. And that's what's already happening here. Jobs, the jobs thing we've talked about so much, it's just so obvious. The desperation that's already been caused by this. We did, I think, 2 segments on this a couple of weeks ago. We had 3 million viewers on it that were so angry that the comments, it was palpable. I mean, it was palpable, the anger that's coming out of it. Some of them were very sophisticated. They were obviously coming from the business sector, where you had folks that were running construction companies said, I don't know, how the hell am I going to hire anybody? And I think the thing that makes me the angriest is when you have these people saying, they're taking my jobs. That's total nonsense. It's bullshit. They're not taking anybody's jobs. These are jobs that nobody wants to do. They don't want to clean hotel rooms. They don't want to pick agricultural fruit. They don't want to build roofs. They don't want to be in 120 degrees out in the middle of nowhere putting a roof on a house after a hurricane hits Florida. They don't want to do all that stuff. So don't write in comments to this show saying, oh, gee whiz, you're putting people out of work. That's ridiculous.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up because about 10 years ago in the state of Georgia, same talking point, the migrants are taking our jobs. So Georgia passes a similar law 10 years ago, says, okay, we're getting rid of the migrant workers. We're doing away with this special visa program. And what happened the year after that was that you had crops, and Georgia has far more agriculture than we have. Crops were rotting in the field. Homes were left unbuilt and untouched for over a year because even though those jobs were available, nobody wanted to take the jobs.
What happened to the chicken industry? Remember they raided Tyson?
Oh, yeah.
They were closing you down. The price of chicken went up 40% in some regions. We couldn't even buy chicken because somebody was going to come do these jobs if we get rid of the undocumented migrant. That was the argument. Somebody's going to come do this job. You think that's really a reality? Well, we know it's not a reality. Historically, we know it's not a reality. Nobody's going to fill these jobs. Look, here's part of the problem we have in Florida. South Florida looks like damn Jurassic Park. You got all these folks that they're 65 and up. They're coming in from all over the country because they love this guy. They love his conservatism. He's going to save us. We got to get out of our state and go to Florida because we love this. So it's these old people. Hell, it looks like the damn Walking Dead down in South Florida. So who's going to take care of South Florida? Right now, you have undocumented immigrants that are taking care of South Florida. They're taking care of hotels, building, agriculture, service industry. They're doing that. You think you're going to get these old timers to do all that when all the undocumented workers disappear. It looks like friggin' Jurassic Park down there, man.
It basically is, and you're right. I mean, we're not going to get the folks down in the villages to go out there and start building houses.
What are the villages?
Yeah, it's this massive retirement community.
Christ.
You get old people all around the country. They come there. They do their golf cart parades, and you got about half of them that are pro-Democrat, half pro-Republican.
They're going to tip over at any moment.
Well,
they're going to tip over at any moment. And what are they going to? Are they going to go fix roofs? They're going to pick strawberries?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we know one thing they're doing. They actually have one of the highest STD rates in the entire country.
That's weird, but it's a true statement.
It really is.
Well, anyway, look, we're going to keep it this story. I want him to get the message.
Yeah.
I want him to understand why Donald Trump is killing him. Is killing him in the numbers. And he thought this was going to help all of his little pals over there. Who's that guy we always talk about, the big forehead? And Andrade. Okay. How Andrade was going to come to his aid and help him, all this stuff. I want these folks to know what the net effect of this is. It's not good. The EPA is still in the pocket of the chemical industry, and a new report says that the agency is filing a court order by letting Monsanto continue to sell toxic herbicides containing dicamba. All the company had to do was change the label. All the company had to do was use alternatives, and they had plenty, right?
Right. The EPA was told by a judge, you cannot approve these herbicides. These herbicides are devastating, not just to the neighboring farms where this stuff will drift up to a mile away and kill somebody else's crops, but the effect this is having on the entire ecosystem, the entire food chain. In certain areas where it's being used, the judge has said, you can't do this. So the EPA says, okay, Monsanto, you're not allowed to do this, but what if you just change a couple words on your label and then we'll reapprove it?
Yeah, even though it's going to kill people, even though it's going to destroy crop. I mean, what's the number is startling. It's the projection was that after a $260 million hit, they were already hit for destroying farmland. And the acreage that's going to be, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of acres that are going to be destroyed by this dicamba. Here's the ugly part of it. Again, Republicans, everybody thinks, Republicans are so different than Democrats. They're so great for the environment. The White House has done the White House can do something about this. Yeah. They can there's things that they can do from just a pure police power to stop this kind of thing. They haven't done a thing. This has all been happening since 2020, right?
Yeah, it has. Actually, it even goes back, 2016 when dicamba was approved. Right. And from the beginning, well, technically before the beginning, Monsanto's own studies showed how dangerous this stuff was. BASF's studies showed how bad it was, how it was drifting on there, how it was destroying the ecosystems, killing the small animals. It was preventing flowers from being able to produce nectar.
Right.
And that's what basically disrupts the entire food chain, leading to the death of even small mammals once you go far enough along.
In this $260 million lawsuit that they got hit with, didn't change anything about the way they do business. They found that these folks had falsified science, falsified clinical data on science. They found collusion between government at all levels, all the way up to the White House. From bottom to up, the collusion had to do with the fact that you had these companies putting millions of dollars into the coffer of both Democrats and Republicans. And Democrats had their handouts just like the Republicans, no different. So don't write Republican. Now, Democrats were very much involved in this. If you go back on this case, follow it all the way back to Hillary Clinton. Look at where the money started flowing. It started Bill Clinton. This is major money behind Bill Clinton when he ran for president, this company. Yeah. And so nothing's really changed. They're part of that Democratic machine. And everybody seems willing to just look the other way. Just give us enough money for our election coffers. Yeah, you can destroy millions of acres that may never come back. Because what they do is the White House actually signed off on the idea of crop dusting, air to ground crop dusting. What happens with drift when that happens?
Oh, the drift is phenomenal. It goes all over the place because it's not necessarily, just one guy out here spraying it with his hose. You put it in the air, and what happens in the air? You got wind. you've got breeze, you've got all of these other things. You've got these tiny chemical particles that get carried for up to a mile, possibly even more, around the spray site. So you're talking about other people's farms that aren't using these dicamba-ready crops. Those people get devastated. Local forests, wetlands get devastated because
State natural reserves.
Yeah, because this stuff is all over them.
City parks. They give us a list of everything that's affected.
Homes and neighborhoods.
Exactly. State and fish game properties, state natural reserves, city parks, state and natural wildlife refuges are all being affected by this. And Washington is just, look, it's not this judge. You understand, the White House could take action to stop this.
Yeah.
So it can't be blamed on one judge. And even when the judge gave them an out and said, just change a couple of words, they still wouldn't even do that.
Yeah.
Because they know that if they did that, it would affect sales, not just in the United States, but globally. That's how they look at everything nowadays. Globalization, that's what it's all about. Facebook's parent company, Meta, well, they're threatening to remove news articles from Facebook feeds of users in California if the state passes a law that would require the company to actually pay outlets for the content. What's this about? First of all, you got this hairbrand, you got really this guy, the name of the person, Buffy Wicks. This brilliant Democrat, Buffy Wicks, sponsors this bill that is really, when you drill down to it, it's a corporate media relief bill, isn't it?
It is.
It's corporate media putting their thumb on social media. And they're trying to say, look, shows like this, like you and I are doing right now, you know, they might use some of our material. They might do research and use some of our material. We need to be paid for it. So what happens? So rather than paying corporate media, Meta and Instagram and folks like that say, well, we're just not going to do it anymore, right? This is a dangerous, dangerous thing. This is just making corporate media stronger and stronger, even though people are leaving corporate media in droves.
Yeah, they really are. This, of course, would have a devastating effect on the independent media because there's a lot of people, especially on the progressive side, that really only use Facebook as their platform. That is where they publish their videos. You know, they've got no presence on YouTube, but a massive following on Facebook to tell people the news.
When's the last time you've even watched television news? I mean, do you really watch MSNBC
if
or
a debate? I'll watch whatever channel the debate's
I mean,
on,
when is the last? Do you go searching for news on MSNBC
no.
and CNN?
No.
I mean, the exodus is incredible.
It is.
Fox, you're going to watch Fox to figure out what the news of the day is, really? So what's happening is people are saying, I'm tired of that, man. I'm just going to go find out myself by going to sites like this, Ring of Fire or TYT or David Pakman or Sam Cedar or all these sites that are out there where you can really figure out what the hell's going on. So corporate media is behind this, and this Buffy Wicks, my God, Buffy Wicks, this genius, is making it sound like this is really good for consumers if we can pull this off. Where is it? It's moving through California legislature.
It is right now. It's moving through the state assembly, and it has a pretty good chance of passing.
God almighty.
And you know, it's weird because it is being sold to the public as, oh, listen, we're trying to make sure the media gets their fair share. But Facebook actually has a good argument. They say, listen, we're not making them post this. They're posting it on our platform because it benefits them already.
Right.
They're getting eyeballs. They're selling ads based on the number of people looking at it.
Do you realize what's happening now? Shows like this are actually helping corporate media. If you go to Ring of Fire, for example, on YouTube, and you watch this segment, over to the side, you'll see lining up other stories you might be interested in, MSNBC, CNN, Fox. All they're doing is piggybacking on our stories, even though their stories have nothing to do with the kind of stuff we're talking about. Leaders in the tech industry are sounding the alarm bells about the dangers of artificial intelligence, with some going as far as to say that the development of AI could lead to the extinction of the human race. They're equating it to thermonuclear war. That's how serious they think this is. What's your take on it?
No, they literally did. They said, we have to regulate this the same way that we have kind of come together as a world to regulate nuclear arms, because that is how big of a threat artificial intelligence poses. And we have seen, just in the first 6 months of this year, we have seen massive, I don't want to call them improvements, but massive jumps in the development of artificial intelligence. And that's what is scaring the very people who are the godfathers of artificial intelligence.
I was just going to say, the person who is determined to be the originator and godfather of AI has said, OMG. Oh my God, what have we done? And this is not a list of lightweights. But how many 300 plus of these scientists that do nothing but work with AI say, this is real. Now, let's go back to the story where we did a while back where the reporter, was it New York Times, called the AI, which I don't forget.
I think it was, it may have been chatbot,
it might have been
GPT, I'm not sure which one. But
So the reporter calls and starts interviewing this AI creature thing. And the AI creature thing gets mad at the reporter and starts saying, you know, your nose is too big. You got a big forehead. You are the same thing as Stalin and Hitler. Remember that? He starts cussing. The AI starts cussing at the reporter, and then the next day denies it all. Says, I didn't do anything, right?
Yeah, that was a truly disturbing story. And it just, I mean, look, AI is volatile, and we're a country right now, just the United States. We haven't even figured out how to regulate social media yet.
Yeah.
And we have already now evolved into artificial intelligence. We're already behind the curve on the entire tech industry. And now we've got this new creature that we don't know what it can be or what it will be. And these folks are moving forward at breakneck speed because they got to compete with one another to be the first to get it right. Mm-hmm. And the regulators, who are already useless, are even dumber in this instance.
Well, I mean, look, really, the idea of government doing anything about this is just almost laughable. Yeah. But, you know, if you look at it, I think this article points out this. Most people who hear this story think that it's just a small bunch of doomers, right? Oh, it's just a handful. No. It is 350 of the greatest minds dealing with AI, invented it, progressed it, made it into what it is today. They're saying, whoa, we got to stop. As a matter of fact, they're asking for a 6-month pause where it comes to the development of the large AI, globally, where it comes to the development of the AI models. Now, I wish I could analyze it better. I'm just not smart enough, I guess. Yeah, I see how it could get, but I think of where do they get their, where does AI get its information? It scrapes all of its information from social media. Worse, yes, it scrapes it from corporate media. And so when you put all that together, you create this thing, this ugly little thing that had the capacity to cuss the reporter out that was asking tough questions, call him Hitler and Stalin. That's pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, and it only took a few minutes for that thing to go from nice and friendly to I hate you.
I hate you. I would kill you if I had hands, right? The Pentagon has restarted their propaganda department. And it's not hyperbole. It's a propaganda department. Last year, the federal government ramped up their production of pro-USA propaganda in the United States and abroad. God, we've done this story. Weren't we one of the hit elements on this propaganda? What was the woman's name? Spalding?
Yeah, Spalding.
Okay,
Spalding.
So we were criticized because we were doing stories. We were doing stories that they thought were un-American because we were critical. I was critical of judges. I was critical because judges had been arrested for what was the thing in Philadelphia where they were the pay to play
kids for cash thing.
Yeah, I was critical of that. I was critical of some judges in other settings. So this Susan Spalding, whatever her name is, who is nothing more, I mean, she comes up through the spook industry. She was with the CIA. Yeah. She worked cyber CIA. And all of a sudden, she's criticizing me in public. She's criticizing what we're doing in public, saying it's un-American, by God. These guys they're not towing the propaganda line. So now we see it's emerging again, isn't it?
It is. The Pentagon, like you said, last year, they restarted this program that is, they're now calling it, we're just trying to influence, right? You know, like you have the social media influencers. So the Pentagon says, well, hey, we can be influencers domestically and overseas. So The Intercept, Ken Klippenstein did a wonderful job on
By the way,
this.
let me shout out to this guy.
Ken
Klippenstein and Lee Fong are brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, great reporters. He did a great job here.
He always does. And he points out, you know, after World War II, we had the Smith-Mundt Act. And what that said was, listen, the Pentagon, you are forbidden from engaging in propaganda
domestically.
So a couple years ago, lawmakers finally said, you know what, we've already been doing it, so why don't we go ahead, we're going to pass the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. And what it said was, okay, Pentagon, you are completely allowed to spread domestic pro-U.S. propaganda.
Right.
And that's what they restarted with this office.
If we want this president, we're going to put propaganda out there to hurt the other guy. Like they're doing right now with Bobby Kennedy. Hell, Bobby Kennedy can't even get a chance to debate. Whether you agree with him or not, you ought to let Williams and Kennedy debate Biden. But right now you got the propaganda machine saying, oh, no, he just, he doesn't deserve to debate. It's part of domestic propaganda.
Yeah.
And domestic propaganda is really dangerous. I want to read you, they were asked, what does this mean? Now, this is word salad. This is how crazy this is. They was asked, what is the IPMO? What does it do? What's the scope? Well, here's a quote. It will develop broad thematic influence, guidance, and suspect focused on key adversaries, somewhat promulgated on competitive influence strategies focused on specific defense issues with direct subordinate planning efforts for the conduct of influence-related sub-activities and fill existing gaps in policy, oversight, governance, integration related to influence and perception management. Hell, it sounds like Kamala Harris. It sounds like Kamala Harris wrote the damn thing. That's word salad. Somebody trying to say, what does this mean? Did you get anything out of that?
Just those last two words, perception management.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're after, not just here in the U.S., but even abroad. The Intercept got a hold of a memo from last year where the Pentagon actually laid out, to their private folks how this works. And it basically says, all right, listen, country A wants something from country B, but, country C doesn't want country B to have it. So what we do is we go out there and we say, hey, listen, country C, country B, they're not so bad. We're going to push these news stories. We're going to, even if it's fake, it says, even if it's fake.
I was just going to add, they don't differentiate. It's okay to do it if it's fake. Your point is this, perception management equals propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay, now what if? What if you have, now this is run by the Pentagon and the White House, so obviously, it all ties together. So all of a sudden, you have a candidate running for president who is against the Ukraine war, okay? Get the hell out of Ukraine. You got somebody who says we're spending too much on military. We got to cut back on military. You got these cats that have the ability to create domestic propaganda. What do you think they're going to do with that?
Well, I think a lot of it, even more powerful than domestically, is running those types of stories over in Ukraine. Like, hey, listen, here's this guy running for president over here in the U.S. He doesn't like what we're doing for you guys. He doesn't like that we're helping you.
Good point.
What do you think of that? Hey, Saudi Arabia, here's this person running for president that thinks we shouldn't be giving you all these weapons.
Yeah.
So that is where this really becomes so disturbing, because they can shape U.S. influence by acting with their foreign counterparts, because the foreign counterparts, as we know, are also running propaganda here in the U.S.
Right. I mean, look, you may or not agree with this. I'm 100% sure of it. We saw that happen with the Russia story. A non-story became a story. It was driven by domestic propaganda. Now, when you have that domestic propaganda that's looking at candidates and they're saying, this candidate really is not on our side. He doesn't want more missile spending. He doesn't want us involved in Ukraine. He doesn't want us involved in South America or Africa. You know what? They're going to go after that guy. And it's going to be the fake news that they say is completely all right. The story can be fake according to them. That is the reality we're working at. It's 1984 on steroids, my friend. Last week, the Supreme Court handed a massive victory to corporations by ruling that striking union members can be held financially liable for any damages that company suffers. Okay, this was 8-1, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 8 U.S. Supreme Court judges said, yeah. Now, lay the story out so people can better understand it.
Yeah, what happened is in 2017, you had this concrete company, Glacier Northwest. The Teamsters Union was working with Glacier Management, let's get this worked out, otherwise our workers are going to have to go on strike. They couldn't come to a deal for better conditions for the workers, so the Teamsters strike. But the strike had already happened after a specific work day had begun. So all the concrete trucks that already had the mixed up concrete get driven back to the company so the workers can go on strike. Now, Glacier was able to get the concrete out. There was no damage to the trucks at all. But they said in their filing to the court, they said, well, gee, court, look at all this concrete that is now wasted. That cost us some money here, and we want the workers to have to pay for this used up concrete.
Isn't the next step? I mean, it's in little tiny steps, okay? First of all, we're talking about an item. We're talking about concrete. We're talking about something as tangible as a truck, concrete, that's been destroyed in their argument. What about the intangible? What about, hey, Judge, when they did this, we tried to work with them. They wouldn't work with us. Our company lost $800 million in the process. Now, they know this. They know the Teamster unions, and these unions have a lot of money. They understand it's a deep pocket. And it's much like a slap suit is what's happening here, Farron. It's very similar to a slap suit. If we take them to court and we punish them, and they know that if you're Teamster union, that they may have $10 billion accessible, right? And so they know I'm going to go after those deep pockets, but more importantly, I'm going to chill. It's going to be a chilling effect. They're going to think twice before they even go on strike, especially if you get to the point, which I think could happen in the future, to where they're saying, well, this is our real loss. Yeah, we lost the truck, we lost concrete, but what if it evolves? What if it evolves and says, well, we lost $800 million because these creeps wouldn't listen to it. They wouldn't come to the table and negotiate with us. Isn't that where it goes?
It is, and I'll tell you where else it goes. A step further from that, because not only was that concrete for the day lost, but what about where the concrete was going? What about that business owner?
Wow.
Oh no, now I don't get my concrete, so I can't finish my building on time.
Yeah.
So now I will get to sue and I guarantee you that's coming.
Yeah.
We will see all of the
third
people,
parties.
all the people along the lines, and this Supreme Court, again, as you said, 8-1.
Yeah.
Only Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, voted against it.
Yeah.
She said, we shouldn't even legally be able to look at this because it hasn't gone through the National Labor Relations Board. She's the only one who knows what the hell she's doing.
Well, I think unions in this country have a lot more to worry about. I mean, you've got the Democrats who get all this money from the unions, get tons of money. But the Democrats, they're bringing as many immigrants as they can, and these people are replacing jobs for low pay. And so that's something that the Democrats need to sit eye to eye with the unions and say, this is what our plan is. Yes, it helps the economy. It helps the U.S. GDP to bring them in. But you got to understand, it's going to hurt you in the long run. They haven't even had that conversation, and unions keep throwing out more money to Democrats.
Well, and unions need to understand, too, that in a lot of instances, obviously Judge Jackson is a different story with Biden, but a lot of the judges
opponents.
The Democrats are pointing out there are just as bad as those Republicans.
Well, I'm in court all the time. I mean, this is what I do for a living. And everybody thinks, oh, well, Obama made such great appointments. They were so much better than Bush. Bush made terrible appointments. Trump made terrible appointments. I can't even put my arms around how bad some of the Obama judges are. I mean, I just, because they come from corporate America, you see. They represented corporations. They were silk-stocking, white-collar lawyers that represented white-collar criminals. Only money they've made, most of these appointments that Obama made, came from the big defense firms, the silk-stocking defense firms. They have nothing in common with consumers. Are they good on social issues? Yeah, they're good. But how about issues that affect people's pocketbooks? Terrible. And I got to tell you, people don't understand that. They know, if Obama made the appointments, they must be good. It ain't like it. It's not how it is. Yeah. Former Vice President Mike Pence is officially running for president, even though he's never been able to break out of the single digits of any polls. Is this a story? First of all, before we do this story, is this a story?
I think it is. I think, we've got a crowded Republican field, and this idiot thinks that he's the guy that is going to come along and save the Republicans.
Okay.
He is suffering from, I think, probably the worst delusions of grandeur compared to any of these other people on the Republican side. And I do think it's hilarious because I'll say this. Mike Pence thinks that there is an audience for him in that Republican base.
Where is it? It's 6% right now. It's only 6%. of the Republicans to say, yeah, I got some in common with this guy.
He's polling worse than Liz Cheney, and she's not even running for president, although she hadn't ruled it out. But I mean, a guy at 6% who's been at 6% for a year, he knows he's got the stink of Trump still on him, so he can't appeal to the normal people, and the MAGA base hates him because they think he's a traitor.
You know one thing I think he's doing that I think is pretty smart, actually? He's running it against Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
He's saying Kamala Harris is going to be the president of the United States if the Democrats win. Joe Biden ain't going to make it. So when he talks about it, he's literally talking about, I'm really running against Kamala Harris because if Joe Biden wins, Kamala Harris is going to be president of the United States. I think we're going to see more candidates doing that. Now that's one, does it mean anything? He's at 6%. Does that change the dynamics of the election? I think more candidates are going to take that position and saying, why do you think you're running against Joe Biden?
Well, here's what I think too. Mike Pence right now, he doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell, but things are happening right now. There's obviously a lot of legal things happening with Trump. We're, looking at indictments possibly twice by the end of the summer. That could affect Trump. Maybe it doesn't. DeSantis is flaming out faster than anybody we've ever seen. Maybe not as fast as Jeb Bush. But then he is still in third place. And then suddenly, if Trump gets knocked out or, gets convicted, DeSantis is out, suddenly it's Pence. Pence does scare me. I mean, he doesn't scare me at 6%, but if you think back to that vice presidential debate, actually both of them that he participated in, he's a good debater. He's not bad on TV. He is intelligent. He's evil, but he can hold a conversation. He can come up with talking points.
Man. No, he's smart man.
Well, he came from conservative radio, so he knows how to do it. He knows how to talk to people. So keeping him at 6% or lower is in the best interest of the country.
What do you think of the Kamala Harris approach? That these candidates, you're going to see it more and more. I mean, every time Joe Biden falls down or stumbles up the steps of the Air Force One, you're going to hear it more. Guys, we're not running against Joe Biden. We're running against Kamala Harris. What do you say next week we take a look at Kamala Harris?
We can do that, absolutely.
All right. Farron Cousins, thanks for joining me. That's all for this week, but all of these segments will be available throughout next week, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at America's Lawyer. I'm Mike Papantonio, and this has been America's Lawyer, where every week we tell you stories that corporate media won't tell you because their advertisers don't allow for it, or their political connections don't allow for it. We'll see you next time.